Senator Back, who's had more questions this week than anyone else. Senator
Absolutely. Mr President, it's my privilege to ask my last questions to the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Senator Scullion. And President, I ask, can the Minister update the Senate how the Turnbull-Joyce government is working in partnership with Indigenous Australians to deliver outcomes, particularly in the priority areas of education and employment?
The Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Senator Scullion.
Thank you, Mr President. Before I move to the government's achievements in this particular area, I'd like to once again acknowledge the valuable contribution of Senator Back, and we wish him and his family all the best into the future. I'm pleased to update the Senate that we're working in partnership with Indigenous communities, and the investments we are making are great news for our First Australians. We're ensuring that there are opportunities to first get an education and then to transfer into employment. Of course, it's pretty evident, it's very hard to get an education if you are not at school. So our remote school attendance strategy has assisted over 14,000 students, over 77 schools in the last 12 months. But we've done that by ensuring we work with the community, which means we've employed 450 local truancy officers who understand the children, the families, the circumstances in those communities. So again, it's working in partnership with communities. So we're taking that approach in the area of employment as well. So we've broken the cycle of trainings for trainees' sake. We have the VTECs, the Vocational Training and Employment Centres. We've just passed the 6,000 job mark, 6,000 permanent jobs for Indigenous job seekers. Our Indigenous Entrepreneur Funds, which ensures that Indigenous businesses have the opportunities to make a start and succeed. Sometimes it's a piece of infrastructure, it might be a backer or a photocopier or a giraffe, whatever it is you need to run your business, this is the fund that can sort that out. We've achieved an awful lot over the last 12 months, Mr President. We're going to continue to push with our reforms, and all of these reforms will be based on ensuring that we're working with communities, we're working with the people we want to assist, and I'm sure that we'll continue to be able to deliver those results.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Back, supplementary question.
Mr President, I congratulate the Minister on that impressive list and ask what new programs the government is providing to support Indigenous Australians, particularly those in regional and remote areas.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr President, and thank you for the question. Since the 2016 election, we have been delivering on our commitment to support Indigenous entrepreneurs. We have introduced a now $90 million Indigenous Entrepreneurs Fund, which is for Indigenous businesses in regional and remote areas. That's because we recognise the challenges of business in regional and remote areas. The nature of the markets, the nature of business is different from those in the cities. We're also tailoring the Indigenous procurement policy to Indigenous businesses in remote communities. So under this policy, government agencies that are looking to procure goods have to seek out an Indigenous business first. And we're really sending a signal, and that signal, Mr President, is if you want to do business with the Commonwealth Government and trillion-dollar economy, then you need to be thinking about whether or not you're doing business with Indigenous Australia. It's working. We've gone from 6.2 million, and now I can update the Senate. Instead of 407 million, it's 434 million.
The question has expired. Senator Back, final supplementary question.
Yes, finally, President, thank you. I ask, can the Minister outline how the Turnbull-Joyce government's approach of working in partnership with Indigenous Australians has delivered better outcomes and new jobs over the last 12 months?
Minister.
We are working again in partnership with our First Australians and supporting people into employment, because we on this side of the chamber recognise that the best form of welfare is in fact a job. Our community development program has turned around Labor's disastrous remote jobs and community program, which led to a massive disengagement because effectively it introduced an urban work for the dole program into remote areas. I'm pleased to update the Senate that we have recently announced the CDP has delivered over 5,000 six-month job outcomes and has taken from 7% attendance to 70% attendance in activities and jobs. I'm pleased also to update the Senate that the Ranger program that was originally started by the Coalition Government in 2007 now has grown to support over 2,600 rangers. Every day in this portfolio, we are employing more and more Indigenous Australians, and I acknowledge everyone, including those opposite, for working in partnership with the government to achieve these outcomes for our first Australians.
Thank you, Minister.